buddhang ahamadarena tam buddhang sharanam gacchami dhammang sharanam gacchami sangham sharanam gacchami.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
The major events of the Buddha's life all happened on the full moon days. The birth, great renunciation, enlightenment, delivering of the first sermon, and Mahaparinirvana. In fact, each full moon day for all the 12 months in a year marks something remarkable that happened in the history of Buddhism. And it was on today's full moon day that Arahat Mahindra visited Sri Lanka. He was sent on a mission from India during the reign of his father, the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka. He, along with his colleagues, traveled to the Mihinatale hill in Anuradhapura. There, they chanced to meet the Sinhalese king, Devanampiya Tissa, to whom they delivered a sermon on Buddhism. The king was brought into the Buddhist fold, and he in return invited Arahat Mahinda and his followers to the city park of Mahamega, where they preached first to the members of the royal family and then to the common people. Many embraced the new religion, some taking holy orders and joining the Buddhist Sangha. The king donated the Mahamega Park to the Sangha. Meanwhile, the monastery of Mahavihara was established and it became the prime center of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. Mahendra sent for his sister Sangamitra, who arrived with a branch of the Bodhi tree from Bodh Gaya, under which the Buddha had attained enlightenment. The sapling was ceremoniously planted in the city. Sangamita founded an order of nuns and a stupa. The Tuparamachetya was built by the king for popular worship. Thus, with the founding of these and other institutions, Buddhism became an established religion in Sri Lanka. It brought not only pristine Buddhism, but also a true and lasting socio-religious revolution, changing the life and habitat of the people for better peace and prosperity. The establishment of the Buddha Sasana in my land was the greatest step to molding the character of the masses, leading to spiritual awareness and high morality, heal culture, and the peaceful progress of the country. In order to commemorate this remarkable event that had occurred on this full moon day, the Mahabodhi Society of India has organized this online web Dhamma Sabha in order to make known to the masses of the glory of the Buddha Dhamma. In today's Jyestha Purnima Dhamma Sabha, we have as a speaker Dr. Vedinagalla Pannaloka from Sri Lanka. The Dhamma Sabha is being presided over by Dr. Mahendra, one of the vice presidents of the Mahabodhi Society of India. This Dhamma Sabha is being convened by Dr. Bimalendra Kumar, one of Mahabodhi Society of India, accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiranji. We all know that Kiranji is on the way to Varanasi, and from somewhere in the way he has started put invocation for this Dhamma Sabha, an introduction. So today is the Jyestha Purnima or Poson Poe day, a very pious day, and we have been very fortunate, especially the Mahabodhi Society. Mahabodhi Society delegation of 53 people visited Sri Lanka on this day in 2018. And we have seen the celebration in Sri Lanka, how people are so people are celebrating this festival everywhere in Sri Lanka. We have visited Anuradhapura, Mahintale, and Tantrimala, etc. These places are associated with Mahamahinda also. So Mahamahinda is regarded to introduce Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and he arrived, his first arrival in Sri Lanka, that was Oshon Poi, or full moon day of Jyestha Purnima, this day, today. So, so many dignitaries have joined this session today, and about 40 of us are in this Dhamma Sabha, and Professor Dr. Vaidyanath Lav, Vice Chancellor of Nalanda Mahavihar, has also joined this session. Mahapatroji, our President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji. So these details have already been given by Sri Kiran Lamaji. So today, this Dhamma Sabha, as it will be, welcome address will be given by Professor Dr. Bimalendra Kumar of BHU. BHU means Banaras Hindu University. He is our Vice President, one of the Vice Presidents of Mahabodhi Society of India. So he will welcome, as well as he will throw light on this occasion, this subject of today. Thank you, sir. Shri Vimalendra Kumar ji.
Thank you, Dr. Kailash Prasad ji. Most venerable monks who have joined today, Bhikkhu Sangha, President of Mahabodhi Society, Honorable Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, Trustee of Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Surendra Mahapatra ji, Dr. Alpana Basu, Sandeep Jyotikar ji, most venerable Paya Lokavadi Nagala, Head Department of Buddhist Thought, Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Colombo, Sri Lanka. Most respected our Vice Chancellor of Nalanda Mahavihar, Nalanda, Professor Vaidyanath Lav sir, and other governing body members of Mahabodhi Society of India, and Dhamma brothers, and my dear friends, brothers and sisters. It is indeed a great matter of pleasure for me to introduce you all for this Poson Poya Day, which is being celebrated by lovers of Buddhism in Sri Lanka in a very grand ceremony. Every Purnima Day is celebrated in Sri Lanka in a very pious way and with very pomp and show. This Jyestha Purnima is very much famous in history of Buddhist India, as well as a history of the cultural relations between India and Sri Lanka also. Because this is the day when Mahindra, with a band of our bhikkhus, went to Sri Lanka to establish the seed of the Dhamma in Sri Lanka. So this celebration, which was done in Mahabeg Barman, and this is a great event in history of Buddhist India also, as well as the cultural history of our India, as well as in Sri Lanka also. There is a great story which is available in Samant Pasadika, the commentary of Vinay Pitaka, that how the seed of the Dhamma was established in Sri Lanka. And Acharya Buddha Ghosh gives a very vivid description of the establishment of the seed of the Dhamma in Sri Lanka. We are not going to discuss all these things because the speakers who are going to speak on this day. This Poson Poya Day is very pious day in Sri Lanka also, and as well as in Jyestha Purnima is also famous for the Hindus also. This day is very famous for the Hindus also, where the married couple goes to the temple and the wife of the couple wish for a long life of the husband also. And she ties a band in the hands of her husband. So this is very famous for the Hindus festivals also. And this is a very great celebration in India also. So we are going to discuss today. There are two great topics which has been selected for the speakers today. There is a significance of Baisakh Day, life of the Buddha, as well as Bodhi tree and the Dhamma. The second topic, which is going to be discussed by our speakers, the gift of the Dhamma from Bharat, Jambu Dweep to Sri Lanka, Ceylon, by Asoka the Great. And there is a third, historical peace mission of Arhant Mahamahinda and the delegates in Sri Lanka. So these three topics will be spoken by our Dhani. So this is the Poson Poya Day, which is very pious and very significant for the Buddhists as well as for the Hindus also. And it is said that on this very auspicious day, whosoever remembers the great contributions of the great teachers who have contributed in the spread of the Buddhism from India to Sri Lanka, their merits are doubled also. And those who remembers the contributions of the great acharyas, their negative emotions are being also removed. And it is also believed that those who remembers the great acharyas on this very day, the development of the bodhicitta starts from removing the wrong or our defiling factors also. So that is why it is the great contribution of Mahamahinda, who established the seed of the Dhamma in Sri Lanka. And there are two historical traditions that Mahamahinda, with the great power of miracles or riddhis, from India he wished to Sri Lanka also. There is another tradition, it is said that Mahamahinda, who from the Patliputra reaches to Nalanda, and from Nalanda he goes to Vidisha to meet his mother, Vidisha, at Ujjain. And he waits for 3-4 months there. And he waits for a great time which comes in Sri Lanka, where the seed of the enlightenment can be, or seed of the Dhamma can be established. And it is said that there is a root of the Mahinda also. From Vidisha, he reaches to Ujjain, from Ujjain to Lat, Ujjain to Avanti, from Avanti to Lat, Gujarat. From Lat, he reaches to Andhra, coastal region. And from coastal region of Andhra, he reaches to Tamparni of Sri Lanka. And there is a great journey from Patliputra to Vidisha, Ujjain, Avanti, Lat, and Andhra, from Andhra to Tamparni. And there are a band of monks or scholars who are also joining Mahinda also. And at the time of this Aritha, who was prepared there to receive the seed of enlightenment, seed of the Dhamma at Sri Lanka also. So there at a Mahamegh one forest, the king of the Sri Lanka receives our Mahamahinda, and there is a great celebrations there, and the seed of the Dhamma is established there. So there is a great event in Sri Lanka also. And this is the seed of the Dhamma, which is transmitted from Sri Lanka to Myanmar or Siam or other Southeast Asian countries. So this is very famous in history of India also, as well as a cultural bond between India and Sri Lanka. This is the event to which goes there. And the whole Tipitaka, which was in the oral tradition Mukhpat Vasena, which was taken by Mahamahind to Sri Lanka, and it reached to Sri Lanka also. And there is a tradition also, the commentaries of the Tipitaka was also brought by the Mahamahind, which was written in Sri Lanka in Sinhalese language. And there are 5 great commentaries also, which are available there. So our speakers will throw light on this very aspect also, that how this, the seed of the Dhamma, which was transplanted in Sri Lanka, how it transmitted to other Southeast Asian countries also, and how it established a cultural concord between the India and Sri Lanka. So the scholars are going to discuss all these things in a great manner. On behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I welcome all our great speakers who are going to express their views on this very aspect. I welcome, first of all, our Vice Chancellor of Nalanda Mahavihar, Professor Baidyanath Lal, who is going to share his thoughts on this very aspect. I also welcome Dr. Venerable Panyaloko Vadinagala, Head Department of Buddhist Thought, Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Kelaniya, Colombo, Sri Lanka. I also welcome our President, Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji. I also welcome the trustee and the Vice President, our Dr. Surendra Mahapatra Ji. I also welcome Venerable Ye Gyani Sir, our member of the Mahabodhi Society of India, Sandeep Jyotikar Ji, and other members who have joined there in our webinar, like Dheeraj Kumar Nirbhay, Dr. Padmu Ji, Nirbhay Harendra Kumar Singh Ji, Gyanendra Baudh Ji, and P.P. Gautam Ji, and some of our research scholars of the department, Dr. Mukesh Mehta, Ms. Pali Malik, Jyoti Kumari Ji, and Poonam Vasanik, A.M. Kakar, and other members who have joined today in our this webinar on this significance of Jyestha Purnima. So I welcome all the Dhamma brothers, all the members of the Mahabodhi Society of India, governing body members, executive committee members, and all who have joined this webinar. I welcome you all for this great webinar. So I once again welcome on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India for hearing from the speakers. Thank you, Dr. Kailash Prasad Ji.
Thank you so much, Professor Vimalandra Kumar Ji, the Vice President of Mahabodhi Society of India and Professor of BHU, Varanasi Hindu University, Benares Hindu University. As he has given a very good detail of the importance of this day. And I have told that Professor Vimalendra, we and Mahapatroji, we all visited Sri Lanka in one Poson Poe Day. Very famous, very good, great festivities are there. So now, may I invite our special guest, our most respected Professor Vaidyanath Lav, Vice Chancellor Nalanda Mahavihara, to grace this occasion with his speech. Professor Vaidyanath Lav ji. Sir.
Namaskar, and all my hearty greetings to all Dhamma brothers and sisters on this particular special day of Pusan Poya. As Professor Bimendra Kumar ji has introduced this subject in details, throwing the importance and significance of this particular day in the life of Buddhism and all of us. We know that in our country or the countries influenced or impressed by Bharatiya culture, consider all the full moon days as a day of fulfillment. All full moon days of every month or every year are celebrated in our country with some significance. Full moon day says or conveys the meaning of fulfillment, completeness, as the full moon brightens and seems very beautiful, carrying the significance of completeness. So the full moon days of every month in our life, we know that on the day of Vaisakh, the great Siddhartha Gautam got enlightenment at Bodh Gaya, and he became the leader of the humanity. After 2 months, he delivered his first sermon at Sarnath that gave birth in the real sense. That was the birthday of, that should be considered the birthday of the Buddhist Sangha. That was the day when he delivered his first sermon. Similarly, after hundreds of years, when Ashok came to occupy the throne of Magad at Patliputra, and the third Buddhist council was convened, we know that at that time there were a lot of controversies and confusion about the true nature of Buddhism. And as an outcome of the third Buddhist council, he sent his missionaries to convey and spread of the Buddha's message to not only in different parts of our country, but also beyond the boundaries of Bharat. And in that connection, we find that great Mahinda, along with his companions, reached Sri Lanka, the Mihintale, where he was welcomed by the then king of Sri Lanka, Devanand Tirtha, and that introduced Buddhism in this great island. We are very much obliged and grateful to this country, which maintained the tradition of Buddhism, and as a result of that, it spread to different parts of our of the globe, and that way this Buddhism was not only accepted by the king, rather it was declared as the Raj Dharma, as the Dhamma of the nation, Sri Lanka. And that is why to commemorate that day, to celebrate that day, we celebrate Pusan Poya Day that falls today. Jyestha Purnima, the full moon day of the month of Jyestha. We find that because of his merits and the pious work done by Devanang Piyatisya, Ashoka also added with his name Devanang Piya. Although it has been wrongly or unnecessarily translated into English as the beloved of gods, proper names should not be translated. But many historians have done this mistake, as if Ashoka is the beloved of gods. That is the literal translation of Devanang Piya. In Sanskrit, we can call it Devanam Priya. In Pali, it is Devanang Piya. Meaning the same, but it was because of the token of, as a token of friendship and recognition to Devan King, that Ashoka adopted this epithet with his name. Anyway, we know the importance and important contribution of Sri Lanka. The people or the king became so much impressed by Buddhism, by the message, the noble message of the Buddha, that he expressed his desire and sent the message to King Ashoka of Magad. We can say that not only Magad, rather the Bharat, to send some lady who could give this message, or to even to the royal ladies, and that way, just a minute, that way, Sanghmitra went there later along with some other female nuns. The sapling of Bodhi tree was also sent there by Ashok, which was planted at Anuradhapur, the then capital of Sri Lanka. And that way, Buddhism got rather deeply planted, not only planted, it became practically a land which could spread the Buddha's message to other parts of the world. So, today we find that Sri Lanka played a very significant role in maintaining and spreading and strengthening Buddhism. And we always, particularly Theravadins, who follow the tradition of Pali, Tripitaka and Theravada, they consider, because I'm also a student of Pali, my specialization is in Pali. So historically also, religiously also, philosophically also, we find that Sri Lanka has played an important role, very significant role in maintaining and conveying the message of the Buddha to different parts of our country. We know that Professor Bimlendra has very rightly said that when the tradition of Buddhism has gone down in our country, in the country of its own birth, and Buddha Ghosh was instructed by his guru, his Acharya, Revat, to go to Sri Lanka and study Buddhism and translate the Atthakathas back into Pali. He went there, and Mahavihar of that time and at Anuradhapur was a repository of the old tradition of Buddhism and Pali literature. And of course, before him, Buddhadatta had already gone there. But the work that Buddha Ghosh did was rather he expanded or extended the work of Buddha Ghosh. We know it very well. We are all aware how Buddha Ghosh studied deeply the entire Pali Tripitaka and the Atthakathas written by till that time in Sri Lanka. He first of all wrote Visuddhimagga, which is the Atthakatha of not only any book, rather the very basic concept of Buddha Yoga, the Sila Samadhi Panya. We very proudly say that Sila, Samadhi and Panya, these are the three major and most important steps of Buddhist yoga. And no need to repeat how Sile Patithaya Naro Sapayo Chitang Panyang Jabhavayang Atapi Nipko Bhikkhu So Imang Vijate Jatang. And he, as a explanation to these three steps in details, he wrote the book Visuddhi Magga, which is considered as the encyclopedia of Buddhist yoga and an encyclopedia for Buddhism. We all know that he translated, and wrote from his own side that kathas. So this way, we can say that this is Posan Poya Day, is the day of planting of Buddhism into the island of Sri Lanka. And this is a day of joy, this is a day of pride, this is a day of faith, and all of us feel a sense of fulfillment in our life. Let the Buddha's message prosper more and more, not only in our country, not only in Sri Lanka, but the entire world, which has shown the light of wisdom, the light of compassion, the light of humanity to all of us. Just yesterday, I have come back from Bangkok, where Professor Bimendra was also there with us, and the Vesak Day was celebrated, which is recognized by UNO and UNESCO, and now a large number of thousands of people were there. So this is, Buddhism is not simply a religion, a philosophy, but it is a way of life also. It's a way of significant life, it's a way of purified life. And with these words, I won't take much time from you. I have to listen to many more great scholars and lovers of Buddhism who will throw light on the significance of this day and from different angles. So with these words, once again, I express my gratitude to Professor Bimendra Kumar and the entire team of Mahabodhi Society of India, my friend Dr. Kailash ji, and all other friends, because if I start naming everybody, that will take more time. With these words, I stop here, I stop my words and extend my all best wishes to all of you. Thank you so much. Namo Buddhaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, sir. We are listening to Professor Dr. Vaidyanath Lav, Vice Chancellor, Nalanda Mahavihar. He gave a very good detail of the gift of India to Sri Lanka. He started from the Buddha himself, Buddha, Ashoka, Mahamahinda, Sanghamitra, Buddha Ghosha, etc. Good detail that how they contributed to the Dhamma and the spread of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So thank you so much, sir, for so good description, for good detail of Buddhism. And now, may I invite Dr. Most Venerable Vadinagala Panyaloka. He is the main speaker. He is Professor of Pali and Buddhist Studies in Kelani University. Sir, Nami Bante. So now Venerable Bante will deliver his lecture on this pious day of Poson Poi.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. इस great day, and also for both Sri Lanka and India. It's a memorable day in many respects, especially for Sri Lankans, receiving the gift of Dhamma, of the greatest man to walk on this earth, the Buddha, is the most important thing in our history, particularly when we discuss the history of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. The full moon day of June, or the Jyestha Masa, or we in Sinhalese language we call Poson Poya, is the most important. In Sri Lanka, there are two Poya days which are very, very important and highly celebrated, getting the state sponsorship. One is the Vesak Day, the celebration of the Buddha's great three events, birth, enlightenment, and the passing away. And the next is the day of arrival of the Arahant Mahinda to Sri Lanka. In respect, to pay respect to the Arahant, people or the Sri Lankan society call Anubudu Mihindu Maharatan Wahanse. So Anubudu, he's second only to the Buddha. He's a second Buddha for Sri Lankans. So that much importance is attributed to the elder Arahant Mahinda. So this more than 2000 years now, in Sri Lanka, Buddhism prevails, even though there had been serious threats to the existence of religion and this culture due to the power of Mahinda and his strategies to plant this philosophical religion or the way of life in this land. Till today, it evolves. It's a story of evolving, not is still it develops and it expands. So before touching the topic that I am supposed to talk, I want to express a few words. First, actually, this day organizing, I see that Professor Bimalendra Kumar and the Mahabodhi Society and the relevant dignitaries are working hard every full moon day to gather this sort of meetings and discuss the significance of each full moon day. I think it's a great thing. It's a way to roll the Dhamma continuously for the world. So Mahabodhi Society and its membership is taking the lead. That's a great thing, and it is a great offering to the Buddha. And also I'm thankful for giving this opportunity. Especially my thanks go to Professor Bimalendra Kumar from Benares Hindu University, who had been helping me for the last 7 to 8 years. So, okay, I will use the PowerPoint. The host has to make it permissible to share the slides. Who's
just a minute, Bante. Let me talk with the admin. Sarabji ji. Bante, just wait for 1-2 minutes.
Okay.
He is allowing you. He is allowing you to
Yeah, I can.
So kindly see. And just see whether you have been given.
Yes, I can.
Yes. Now you can join.
Okay. So my topic is the gift of Dhamma from Bharat, Ceylon by Asoka the Great. I think that the previous speaker, Vice Chancellor, also referred to certain contents that I am planning to share with you. We know that this mission that took place in the 3rd century BC, it was the beginning of the world Buddhism. Buddhism went out of Indian continent, subcontinent, and then it traveled to many countries. And so as a result of this great mission, Sri Lanka also received the word of the Buddha to Sri Lanka. And in this process of sending the Dhamma away from India, two main figures are noted. One, the Moggaliputta Maha Arahant, who was the leader of the Third Council, and then his patronage, the Asoka the Great. So Asoka, the King Asoka, or the Emperor Asoka, was very enthusiastic. We can learn from his rock edicts and his various kind of documents, means that in the inscriptions, his interest in propagating this Dhamma in general, and when we refer to the Sri Lankan chronicles, his interest of spreading or sending the Buddhist mission to Sri Lanka and other countries can be investigated. So, as what is the seed of all these activities, when we look at the Asoka's side, I think his conversion to Buddhism is the turning point, and it is the beginning of all these activities. So we know that being the third successor of Maurya dynasty, Asoka was very expansive, and he spread towards the south of India, and then he met the serious war in Kalinga, and as the rock edicts mentions, he finally won over the Kalinga war, but finally the violence which was utilized to win over the people by war finally caused repentance in him, remorse. So to get finally he realized that violence is not the way to conquer the lands, and it is the Dhamma, or the righteousness, is the way to win colonies for a country or for a ruler. So then we learn there are various way of interpretations how this conversion took place. One is that says the emperor one day saw Samanera, the Nigroda, the Arahant, and who was very pleasant to see, and he was very calmed, And listening to him, the king could remove his pain from his heart and turn to Buddhism. This is one idea. However, finally, we can see that the change, that internal transformation went in his heart is reflected in the rock edicts or his these artifacts. So then it is a confirmed fact that he changed his course of rule, the way of winning, and finally he resorts to non-violence as the means to work with the people and the countries. So that is that makes him a different royal personality in the not only in the history of India or in Buddhism, but in the whole world. So greats like G.H. Wells, all these scholars have paid respect and noted the greatest transformation that Asoka underwent was very influential for later generations. And he himself, we can see that Asoka in his inscriptions advise his later generations not to use violence. Why I am repeatedly referring to this non-violence or the principle of non-violence in Asoka is that is reflected in Sri Lankan society till today, because of through the Arahant Mahinda, Asoka and Moggalliputta Tissa Mahathero, the Arahant sent the Buddha's message to Sri Lanka. It got rooted in the country, and what kind of civilization or what kind of culture was finally formed is a question. When we answer to this question, we can say that is a culture of non-violence. That's a culture of tolerance. That is the gift that Asoka, the emperor, the great, gave to Sri Lanka. And his approach to Buddhism is mentioned in one of the minor edicts. Beloved of the gods speaks thus: it is now more than 2.5 years since I became a lay disciple, but until now I have not been very zealous. But now that I have visited the Sangha for more than a year, I have become very zealous. So with the time after his conversion, we can see he is improving in the Dhamma. And finally, there are very deep insights from the great Asoka that most important thing is conviction, realization by oneself more than the propagation or other things. So we can see that we can notice the development that Asoka himself had in the teaching of the Dhamma. And I think the sending the missions abroad is not just a diplomatic task, but he had himself got realization in the Dhamma and its significance. So here, when we turn to Sri Lanka, according to the Mahavansa, it mentions that the Devanampiya Tissa, the ruler or the Sri Lankan king at the time of the Emperor Asoka in Sri Lanka, first got the coronation. Then he informed his coronation and sent a delegation to India with gifts to consolidate his friendship with the Indian emperor. And receiving this mission or the delegation, the king emperor, the Asoka, the emperor, when this group was back to Sri Lanka, he provided them with some instruments and those ornaments, etc., which are necessary to perform coronation ceremony. And he requested Devanampiyatissa to re-coronate. However, here these words are very important for us, that he was in a great piety for Buddhism. He himself says, I have taken refuge in the Buddha, his doctrine and his order. I have declared myself a lay disciple in the religion of the Sakya Sangha. Seek then, even thou, O best of men, converting thy mind with believing heart, refuge in these best of gems. So then his kind invitation to Devanampiyatissa was to go refuge in the message of the Buddha. And it is according to this Mahavansa record, that is the triple gems is the best of gems. That is the highest thing. So someone can question sometimes there are issues whether we can accept the ideas given in the Mahavansa. Mahavansa is celebrated as well as criticized equally. But we learn from some archaeological findings, etc., the information that it provides can be archaeologically verified. So these records, we give some, and the findings today we get, and these records make us to rethink and to believe, to rely on these Mahavansa accounts. And according to the Mahavansa, the Sri Lankan ruler Devanampiyatissa, just after his coronation, sent a mission to the Indian Emperor Asoka. When the mission was about to return to Sri Lanka, in addition to various gifts relevant for a coronation ceremony, the Emperor Asoka sent above message to the Sri Lankan ruler. So then we can see that the gift from Asoka, even before his official missions reached Sri Lanka, had been sent to Sri Lanka through the diplomatic missions. This is one of the examples. See, the relationship that these two countries had since beginning of Emperor Asoka's career is evident here. And also that in this case, as I mentioned, both the Asoka and Moggaliputta were instrumental. And before Buddhism came to Sri Lanka officially on the day of Poson, we can see that scholars point out, and also the story of the Buddha's 3 visits to Sri Lanka, that Buddhism had reached to Sri Lanka even before Mahinda. Somehow, even though it had reached there, we can see from this information, it is not a complete and effective introduction to the country, but the effective introduction and official introduction, we can say actually took place with Mahinda. And then we read in the text that Mahinda's arrival, he came with another 4 monks and bhikkhus, and 1 samanera and 1 lay disciple. So this is the we learn from the Sri Lankan history that the arrival of Mahinda, how it took place at the place we call today Mihintale or Mistaka Power, Mistaka Pabbata. So then here there is another insight or a message. That is, the king was on hunting on this full moon day. So then he change his this after that we can see that full moon day is totally prohibited for going for this sort of activities, or killing animals and going for hunting, etc. Even at the village level, it is not practiced till today. So then, according to the records, the king Devanapati was on hunting when he met the missionaries. Being addressed by the Arahant Mahinda by his name, the king asked who they were. Arahant Mahinda responded by saying, Samanamayang Maharaja Dhammaraja Savaka Taveva Anukampaya Jambudipa Idagata. This is repeated every year, every time when we refer to Arahant Mahinda, his verse which he addressed to the king Devanapati is uttered. O king, we are the adherents of the enlightened one, the Buddha who has revealed the noble path to the total liberation, and have visited you from Dambadiva through compassion. So Jambudipa, Idagata, we came from Jambudipa here. So then this is the first meeting, and it says that there were two questions about the Amba tree and then the relatives. King had answered them properly, and Arahant Mahinda understood the king is capable of realizing the Dhamma. And then the first discourse, this is, we can see that this is the starting point of transmitting the teachings of the Buddha to the nation of Sri Lanka. So then Arahant Mahinda selected the Chulahati Padopama Sutta to teach or to preach for the people, and especially for the king and his retinue. Then what is the importance of this text? And is we can see that this text explains the gradual path of the spiritual career in Buddhism, and how it starts and how it culminates in attaining the Nibbana. So this text was a reality in later centuries to come. When we study Visuddhimagga, which was composed by another great Indian master, Buddhaghosa, when he explains various practices related to meditation, he quotes, he relates the stories of Sri Lankan masters who were very zealous about practice, and who became finally accomplished monks or the arahants. So then this teaching, that the teaching introduced on the day of Poson to Sri Lankan soil, we can see from the sources, was a reality in this land. So this, it means that Mahinda's mission and the Mahinda's teachings were not confined to texts, but they were realities for this land, and it built a new culture in Sri Lanka. Of course, before the Arahant Mahinda's arrival, the resources are very less about the pre-Buddhist history. So we don't know how spirituality was there. We learned that there were many religions like Brahmanism and various practices. But we can see with evidence that Sri Lanka experienced a new culture, a new spiritual culture after the arrival of Mahinda. So then here in this sutta, it explains that gradual path. I think no need to explain in detail. When So then, sorry. Having listened to the discourse, the king and the entourage of 40,000 people embraced the Buddha's teaching and became disciples of the Buddha by taking refuge in the triple gem of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So then when we read the Visuddhimagga and many Atthakathas reporting Buddhism in Sri Lanka, there are so many Arahant monks who accomplished the truth of the path and the goal. So then this is, we can see the teaching that reached Sri Lanka created a new culture of spirituality in Sri Lankan culture, which is living till today. Then we can see that Arahant Mahinda took formalities, performed formalities to establish Buddhism in this land. The first is, he first ordained Banduka Upasaka, and then later Maha Arita, because when the king Devanampitissa asked whether now we have done so many things to establish the order in the country, whether it is completed, Arahant Mahinda's answer was not that. It is not yet complete. In order to make it complete, a Sri Lankan should get ordained and he should recite the Vinaya in front of the Sangha. So then it happened with Maha Arita. And also following the arrival of Mahinda, we learn that several significant events took place for Sri Lanka. One is that starting the Bhikkhuni order with the Queen Anula's request, Arahant Mahinda invited Sangamitta, his sister, to come to Sri Lanka, and with Sangamitta, and she also brought the Bodhi tree to Sri Lanka. Two things. One thing was that establishing the Bhikkhuni order, and then bringing the Bodhi tree. All these were influential for the country or for the people to transform the country to a spiritual nation. Till today, we can see in Sri Lanka everywhere there are Bodhi trees, and people every afternoon, sometimes some temples every 7 days, people get together at the temple under the Bodhi tree, and they practice the Dhamma or recite the Dhamma. So then we can see that the Mahinda's mission created beginning of new civilization in the country. Even so then this before Buddhism arrived, we learned that there was no an organized religion within the country. So then what happened after the introduction of Buddhism to Sri Lanka? One is, for the first time, the whole country got united under one religion. Within the first 2 centuries, whole country had embraced Buddhism. Because of influence of Buddhist teachings, the society was organized, centered on Buddhism. Therefore, each village had a temple. Till today, we can see this. So then this is the symbol of Sri Lankan culture, that is pagoda and the reservoir. This culture, this sort of culture evolved after Mahinda's arrival in Sri Lanka. And also his mission created new relations among the people. One of notable was that monk and lay relation. So till today, the monk role in the life of the people is invincible. Every important event is related to the monk, and they get advices and blessings from the monk. And also, after the initiation of the Mahavihara and its development, Sri Lanka became an international Buddhist center. Till today, we can see the foreign monks from other Buddhist countries come to Sri Lanka for studies. It is a continuous process that treating the Sri Lanka as a stronghold of especially Theravada Buddhism. During the time of Arahant Mahinda, the first Buddhist monastery in Sri Lanka was built. It was called Mahavihara. It served for several centuries to spread Buddhism to the world. Countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, and Thailand all have scriptures taken from this place to their countries. And also it served as the stronghold of Theravada Buddhism, which is practiced in the South Asia and Southeast Asia. When we check, when we see manuscripts in Thailand, Burma, we all can see Sri Lankan scriptures. Development and then this bringing this from where in the several layers we can see Buddhism got rooted. One, the highest level is that practicing Buddhism and having a culture of spirituality which strives for attaining Nibbana or being Arahants. Then we can see the relationship between religion and the people, human relations, and then another aspect of the of a country or a culture is the art and architecture. So all these were centered around Buddhism after the Mahinda's arrival. With the introduction of Buddhism, new arts developed. Mainly an art centered on Buddhist temples were developed. With the images, paintings, and many forms of artworks appeared, leaving a legacy for future generations. One of such unique artwork is Moonstone, Sandakada. This very unique creation, but this is a symbol of samsara and attaining Nibbana. And then beautiful artwork, Moonstone. And also Buddha statues, especially the Samadhi Buddha statue. Everywhere in the country, there are Buddha statues with explicit features. It's said that Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first prime minister, contemplated using a photo of this statue in prison. After he became the prime minister of India, he visited Anuradhapura to see the actual statue. This is the source. This is the statue, that the Samadhi statue, very famous Buddha statue. So these are unique artworks which makes the country rich of the heritage and proud nation. And also everywhere we can see the pagodas. It is a culture which continues. This is the most important stupa, Ruwanvali or Ratanamali or Swarnamali Mahacheti. This pagoda belongs to the earliest phase of Anuradhapura, just after the arrival of Mahinda Thero, the Arahant. This is my temple on a rock. There are two pagodas. This is the one that we can see clearly. This photo also was taken by myself. Buddhist values. So then, in addition to those things that I described, another important aspect that society of Buddhist culture developed in the country was loving attitude for all the sentient beings. The Buddha and Jaina Mahavira are known to have emphasized non-violence. In the Sri Lankan society, care for life of other beings was very important value. Kings and people all were equally compassionate. It is said King Buddhadas had treated a serpent by himself and had set up hospital for animal care. Moreover, not killing or Madhata law was enforced by several kings in the history of country. So then Madhata, don't kill the animals, was several times enforced in the history of Sri Lanka. Regarding this non-violent character of the country that we learn from the Buddha and Buddhist mission, Buddha's message, here it is explained by a recent scholar or recent activist of Buddhism, A.T. Ariyaratne, I think you all know. recent social activist, Dr. A.T. Aryaratna, the founder of Sarvodaya movement, says, in a Buddhist society, loving kindness, compassion, and respect for life are given highest priority. As children, we were not allowed to harass, harm, or kill even a small living insect like mosquito. So this is the culture that created. And also another important aspect of Sri Lankan culture is religious tolerance. We learn that throughout the Sri Lankan history, of course, even though Buddhism was the state religion, but all the other religions existed in harmony. In the Polonnaruwa period, Hinduism had great influence of the country, and Buddhism embraced their influence and assimilated into the Buddhist culture. Since ancient times, Sri Lankan society maintained religious tolerance. On one hand, Buddhism had embraced important ideas from other religions. It allows to exist the other. The god Vishnu is in the Buddhist shrine room. Many religions exist in the country, and they all exercise freedom. So then, during the Kandyan period, the Dutch were ruling the sea areas of the country. The followers of Christianity started persecuting the Protestants. For the latter escaped to the Kandyan kingdom and sought refuge of the Sinhalese king. The Sinhalese king at the time of Kandyan period gave them protection. Thus, the Buddha Dhamma sent by Asoka to Sri Lanka had transformed the life of people in a peace-loving and caring culture over the last 23 centuries. So my conclusion, Buddhism with its arrival in Sri Lanka had influenced in molding living style, thinking pattern, art and architecture, governance, and many other aspects of life of people in the country. Its influence till today continues and had contributed to build an identity as a Buddhist country. Values like non-violence and religious tolerance dominate the thinking of the people. This is the fruit of the gift that the great Asoka gave to Sri Lanka, and it helps us to stand out as a nation with a lot of insights and a lot of understanding, and for spiritual culture. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, most venerable Dr. Vadinagal Panyaloka, Professor of Pali and Buddhist Studies in Kelani University, has given a very good detail of the introduction of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and it's how it prevailed in Sri Lanka, its condition, and the role of even Moggalliputta Tirtha of India, Mahinda, Sangamitta, and the author of Visuddhi Magga, Buddha Ghosha, and others. Very good detail, and it's spread also in Sri Lanka. Its influence on Sri Lanka. So very good detail.
Last में vote of thanks आपको देना.
Thank you so much, Bhanteji. We are very much grateful to you for this deliberation.
अच्छा.
Now.
हाँ ठीक है. हाँ मैसेज किए थे हम, लेकिन आपको देख नहीं पाए, लगता है कहीं व्यस्त है आप भी.
So we had speakers like.
ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, तो हम दूसरे से करवा. हाँ, कैलाश जी को ही बोल देते हैं. ठीक. Okay, no sir.
Now may I request our President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Honorable Shri Mahendra Singh, to present presidential observation, sir.
Thank you, Kailash ji, to invite me. First of all, I will recite Namo Tas Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tas Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tas Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. On this very auspicious day of the 4th June, the Jyestha Purnima, there are two themes given to the speakers by the society for the significance of Vesak Day and the life of the Buddhas, Bodhi tree and Purnima. Second, gift of Dhamma from Bharat to Ceylon by Asoka the Great. First, I will recite my salutation to Buddha Dham Sangh. With most respectful adoration, I pray obeisance to the Buddha, who, like his predecessors, has made a very rare appearance, who, like them, has no peers among Brahmas, Devas, and human beings in the three worlds, who, like them, forms a refuge for all those beings who bow in homage, and who is like them in all aspects of glory, virtues, and attributes. And now I will pray for the Dhamma. With most respectful adoration, I pray obeisance to the Dhamma, which, though his omniscience and out of profound compassion for all beings, has been well taught by that Buddha, and which has been held in high esteem by himself. Prayer for the most respectable Sangha. I pray obeisance to the Sangha, the order of noble ones who have become the true sons of the Master by their proper and upright practice of the Dhamma. First of all, I pay my respect to all the Buddhas who arose in the world, from the first Buddha, Medhankar Buddha, up to the Kasyap Buddha and Gautam Buddha. The appearance or arising of any Buddha in the lok, rather in the three lokas or 10,000 world cycle, is most rarest of the rare event. There is a great distance of the time that is called Buddhantar. The span of the time between the two Buddhas is incalculable. So, the arising of the Buddha is the rare event in the loka. May it be Kamlok, Ruplok, or Ruplok. So, why the Vesak Day? Because from the first Buddha, Medhankar, up to the Gautam Buddha, all the 28 Buddhas, as per the great chronicles of Buddhas, the details given in the books, Vesak, full moon day, is connected with three events in the life of the Buddha: the birth, enlightenment, and the final passing away, Parinibbana. Vesak, therefore, is a triple anniversary, most sacred to the Buddhas all over the world. Why Vesak is so much important? That's the first theme, the significance of the Vesak. As I have read and understood, all the 28th Buddha, from the first Buddha, Medhankar, up to the Gautam Buddha, all the Buddhas were born on the full moon of the Vesak, were enlightened and passed away on the full moon of the Vesak. It is the chronology of the all 28 Buddhas. And like our Gautam Buddha, all the Buddhas had renunciated the home. There are 8 features of the every Buddha which are different to the life of the every sentient being or Devas, Brahmas of the 3 lokas. What are these 3 different features of every Buddha? 8 different features, such as lifespan, height, lineage, duration of strenuous exertion, duskar kriya, rage emitted from their body, conveyance to renounce the home, used to renounce the world, bodhi tree, and the size of the seat, vajrasan. These are the 8 things different from all the world. Now, why the Vesak? Significance of the Vesak. Important issue all over the world. Rather, not all over the world. I will say from the 3 lokas, sensual sphere, material sphere, and immaterial affairs. Kamrup, Kamauchar, Rupauchar, Arupauchar. Kamlok, Ruplok or Aruplok, and moreover, in the 10,000 world cycles of the world. The Vesak day has such signification. All these planets are covered, and not only covered, they got the rarest of rare chance to hear, not only to see and come across with the any Buddha. It is very difficult in the loka to hear the word of the Buddha, as Buddha. Buddha, ghoso pikho iso, gopati, dullabho, lokasmim, yad idam, buddho. Rare indeed it is in the world, even to hear the utterance, Buddha. It is very rare incident if we hear the word Buddha. And they have much punya and merit in the world, who got a chance and who get a chance and who will get a chance to hear the word like the Buddha. So every Vesak, the triple great events, birth, enlightenment, Parinibbana, they coincide. Why the significance of Vesak is attached so much importance? Because when any Buddha who arises in the loka after a incalculable, immeasurable aeons or cups of the time arises in the world, by that time the whole universe and the whole 10,000 world cycles are in such darkness of the ignorance, absolute darkness. They have no moral values. They have no knowledge or wisdom regarding the real path. So whenever any Buddha arises in the Lok on the Vesak Purnima, full moon day, it is the greatest gift to the Loka and the 10,000 world cycle. Because the Dhamma and the doctrine, the path Buddha teach is rarest of rare to be heard. And when any Buddha sets rolling the wheel of the Dhamma, it creates a uproar in the whole 10,000 world cycles. And the Devas, Brahma, all the Maharaj, they become so happy because when at the time the Gautam Buddha, as has been mentioned in the chronicles of the Buddha, I am reading for your knowledge. Having won his victory over Vaswati Mara, also called Devput, Mara before sunset, on the full moon of the Vaisak in the year 103 Maha era, the Bodhisattva realized the three knowledges in succession as follows. Knowledge of past existences, Ubbe Nivasanusati, Jnana, in the first watch of that night. Divine power of sight, Dibbe Chakku Jnana, in the middle watch of the night, that night. And knowledge of extinction of moral intoxicants, Asukhay Jnana, in the last watch of the night. And attained Buddhahood in the very last watch of the night of the Vaisak full moon. This was the great happening on the full moon day when Gautam Buddha got enlightened. What happened thereafter? His enlightenment. When the noble Bodhisattva was remaining in the invincible throne, Aparajit Palanke, delighted and happy, after being thus victorious over Vaswati Mara, many Devas and Brahmas dwelling in the 10,000 world systems, including the earthbound spirits, Bhuma Devas, came to the Bodhisattva simultaneously and assembled, shouting and exclaiming, "Come, friends!" What they said in excitement, "Come, friends, Devas and Brahmas, the victory of the noble Bodhisattva and the defeat of Mara have been made clear. Let us hold together an auspicious celebration in honor of the victory of the noble Bodhisattva and coming attainment of his Buddhahood." This was the rejoice and the happiness expressed by all the Devas, Brahmas, and all the earthbound spirits of the 10,000 world system. Thereafter, at the time of standing in the 20th Deva, world Sakra, Indra, sounded the Vijayuttara conch, which was 120 yojans long, to summon the Devas and Brahmas. The sound of his conch could be heard from all over the Deva world, 10,000 yojans in the width. Even while blowing the conch continuously, Sakra was running fast to reach the Bodhi tree. Such was the excitement. Next, Mahabrahma came and paid homage by holding the white umbrella which had been left behind on the top of the Chakwal mountain and covered the Bodhisattva with it from above. What a honor paid by Mahabrahma. All Mahabrahmas from the other 10,000 world system came and stood holding their whole white umbrellas, touching one another so as to leave no gap between them. Such was a rush. They were jostling with each other, but anxious to see the glimpse of the Buddha. Next, Swayam, the king of Yam, abode of the Devas, also came and stood near the Bodhisattva, paying homage by fanning him with the yak tail fan, which was 3 yojans in size. All the Swayam Devas from the other 10,000 world system also came and paid homage, each holding a yak tail fan, crowding the whole of this world system. Next, Santusita, king of the Tusit abode of Devas, also came and paid homage by fanning the Bodhisattva with the circular ruby fan, 3 Gwantus in size. All the Santusita Devas from the other 10,000 world system also came and paid homage. Panchikha Deva came carrying the celestial harp, Belua, accompanied by a group of the celestial dancers and paid homage by the dancing and singing and making music in the glory of the Buddha. Furthermore, all male and female deities dwelling in the 10,000 world system gathered together in this world system and paid homage, taking their positions in the vicinity, some of them standing and holding a jeweled archway. So, it may be certainly said that the Vesak day, in the literal sense, but in the practical sense, is the liberation day of all the dukkhas. It is not the arising of any Buddha on Vesak day, full moon day, Vesak day, but a day dawned on this earth, universe, that Buddha will liberate the populace and all Devas, Brahmans from suffering to lead their life towards the Nibbana. Such is the most significance of the Vesak day. Vesak day has a great significance because after that, each Buddha delivered and will deliver in the future also the Dhamma Pavatan Sukha and Anatalakhan Sukha and the fire sermon. These are the 3 cardinal sukha which every Buddha delivers in the first stage. So, the significance of the Vesak is so great, it cannot be measured in its value because it is the great reality. It is the great truth which Buddha discovers. As my noble friend Vedanath Lavji said that it is not a religion. It is the path to the guidance from all suffering, which can be shown only by the Buddha. Vesak day means, in other sense, the arising of the Buddha. So, arising of the Buddha in the world is not a simple incident because all the previous entourage and disciples of the previous several Buddhas, whose paramitas and merits has come to maturity, they also take birth in the lifespan of the Buddha, any Buddha, and under his patronage and tutorship, they get Nibbana, just like Sariputra, Mahamogla, and all the 18 Mahasthvir, and so many innumerable. So the significance of the Vaikuntha can be gauged from this angle. It is the rare of the rare day, which rarely occurs in the universe. Occurs in the universe. Again, just like Buddha, after having enlightenment, need not to repeat. Straightway reached Sarnath, Deer Park, and he delivered Dhamchak Pavatan Sut to the group of 5 ascetics. And thereafter they got in the first stage, after listening the Dhamchak Pavatan Sut serially, first the Kodanne, and thereafter Bhaddiye Mahanam Bap Assaji. And when the Buddha delivered the Anath Lakhan Sut, they all together became Arhant. Every Buddha does this. When the next our Maitreya Buddha will come in the Loka, time cannot be calculated. Nobody knows. Nobody can guess. But when he will arise in the world, he will do the same for noble truth. Patitya Sumutpad, Anitya Dukh, Anatta. These are such words for noble truth. It's the greatest gift of every Buddha to universe, the 10,000 world cycles, to get one emancipated from all suffering, from the worldly sufferings, for noble truth. If I can summarize for noble truth, just like in the Sutta Pitak, we say, Dukh Arya Sat, Dukh Samudaya Arya Sat, Dukh Nirodh Arya Sat, and the path leading to the extinction of the Dukh, Nirodh Arya. Or, if I say in the language of the Abhidhamma and the language of the Buddhas, 4 words can be said: Dukh, Samudaya, Nirodh, Mag. The whole Tripitak, which is elaborated in the several books now, is itself in these 4 words. So I can say, candidly say, that every Buddha who fulfills his paramis, 10 paramitas, may the time spent whatever according to their merit comes to maturation. What I have understood, each and every Buddha is hankering, hankered, and is anxious, and is in the search of the Four Noble Truth. Our Lord Gautam Buddha spent 4 immeasurable 100,000 years to reach and to understand these 4 words, 4 noble truths. So it is the significance of the Vesak Day. The world gets the omniscient Buddha to liberate, to emancipate the sufferers from worldly sufferings, emancipate, final emancipation. In other words, these 4 noble truths may be called a doctrine, Dhamma, teachings, whatever, but in real sense, this is the ambrosia, such medicine. It is a medicine which cures not only the suffering of this my present life, but it eradicates my past karmas also, and stops my next patisandhi to fall in the cycle of the birth and rebirth. How powerful is this medicine? This is the significance of the Vesak Day. On this Vesak Day, the whole world, universe, and the 10,000 world cycles gets this medicine. Gets such doctor, the healer, Mahabhesajya Guru, in the form of the Buddha, which can cure, finally, not only cure, eradicate root and branches, the ignorance, the root cause embedded in our psyche since time immemorial. It is the significance of the word, of the Vesak Day. Life of the Buddhas. Next sub point is this in this first theme, life of the Buddhas. Every Buddha, since his inception to become Bodhisattva, there any previous Buddha, living Buddha, at the beginning makes a prophecy, reading the merit of any would-be Bodhisattva and Buddha, he makes a prophecy. Without a prophecy, no Buddha, no Bodhisattva could become a Buddha. So starts the life of a Buddha. And when any Buddha, just like Dipankar Buddha, made a prophecy of the Sumed Pandit, that after examining his dedication, devotion, when he laid down in the dirt, prostrate, so that the Dipankar Buddha may cross that dirty place, keeping his feet over his back and the flowing hair. So Buddha read the mind of that hermit, Sumed, and found that he will be Buddha he is a Buddha in the making. He made a prophecy then and there. When Sumed Pandit heard this, he became so happy And he said, I will become Buddha. So after that, he started to search what are those merits and the parameters and the steps I will have to take to reach to the Buddhahood. Then he came to know I will have to fulfill 10 paramitas. So it took 4 immeasurable and 100,000 aeons to complete the 10 paramitas. By the last birth, as a bodhisattva, in the form of the Gautam, Siddhartha Gautam. Previously, he was born as a Prince Vesanta. Then the next birth was full with the completion of the 10 paramitas. That's Gautam Siddhartha Gautam. The life of the every Buddha is very, very tortuous and arduous. Every time, in each day, every bodhisattva keeps his mind in control, his mouth, his tongue in control, and his body in control. There is a symmetry. This is the qualification of a bodhisattva. What he thinks, he speaks, and what he speaks, he does by body. He never violates this principle. This is so the life of the Buddha. In the Chronicles of the Buddhas, this book, the life of the all the 25 Buddha is enumerated, and the life of 3 Buddha, Medhankar, Tanhankar, Saranankar, is missing, untraceable. But all Buddha alike, in the same fashion, renunciated the home, and as Bodhisattva, he was married, and he had a son, and he made a Duskar Kriya. The time frame of the Duskar Kriya, self-mortification, is different. It is different from each of the Buddhas. And after Duskar Kriya, every Buddha takes a meal named the rice porridge, payas, kheer, served by any upasak, upasik. And thereafter, every Buddha borrowed 8 handful grass to spread over the Vajrasan, and every Buddha conquered the Mara. So the lives of the every Buddha is alike, not different. Different is this, the period of the self-mortification. Some Buddhas became Buddha, some Bodhisattva became Buddha even after 7 days, some after 4 months, 6 months. Only our Gautam Buddha took 6 years to become Buddha. Otherwise, all the Buddha took very short time. It is another thing I will explain in another occasion. So, the life of the Buddhas, the Bodhi tree, and the 8 important things which I had told you in the beginning, every Buddha, they have Bodhi tree. Every Buddha has a Bodhi tree. They sit under Bodhi tree, a tree, and after enlightenment, that is called Bodhi tree, under which the Bodhisattva became Buddha. So, this is our every Buddha has two chief disciples, two chief bhikkhuni, and one attendant. This is the symmetrical. Now, the Purnima. What is the significance of the Purnima? Why Purnima only? Why Purnima? Because on the full moon day, when there is a full moon day, Purnima, on that night, the planet of Earth and this universe come into the straight contact of the moon. And the gravitational force, and on that particular night, there is a great tide in the oceans, just like tides in the oceans. And where is a great gravitational force in the moon, between the earth and moon, there is an upsurge, thirst, every liquid, upward. So, the Buddha takes birth on Purnima. Why? Because his future mother may not suffer travails of the birth pains. And the gravitational force becomes so powerful that the oxygen level and the blood level in the brain is heightened, is increased. When the oxygen and blood level in the brain is more than required, then a person never feels fatigue or tiredness or suffering. This is the reason to facilitate the mother. Every bodhisattva takes birth of the Purnima, because he is Mahakarunik to all. Next, under the Bodhi tree, again this formula is applied. His gravitational force of the blood and the water in the body take upsurge flow. And in that situation, he remains alert, mindful, agile, untired, to conquer the Mara and to reach the ultimate truth. And two, this is the second. And the third, when any Buddha enters into Mahaparinibbana, again this formula is applied. Because you can see, whenever any person dies, he is very much in suffering. He twists this side and that side, because he feels weakness, drowsiness, and fatigue. He loses his sense. Why? Because the blood and oxygen level in the mind is not sufficient. So Buddha remained quite powerful and alert. So he gave last sermon to the last convert. With very in the same alert mind as he used to give in the ordinary days. This is the significance of the Purnima. Next theme is the gift of the Dhamma from Bharat to Sri Lanka. Our erudite and learned scholar, Venerable Wadi Nagla Pannalok, has given you the much details regarding this. I will not speak much regarding this, but I will say something. Because now the India, Bharat, in the time of the Asoka, when Asoka himself was initiated by his nephew, Isramner Nigrodh, by reading the Appamada Sutta. He became so sober and kind. He repented the killings of the Kaling War. So he sheathed his sword, never to be unsheathed again. Finally, he kept his sword in the sheath. As when he was the third king in the succession of the Maurya ones, Chandragupta, Bindusar, and Asoka. Yes, it may be said that when his son Mahendra, he was 14 at the time, 14 of the age at the time, coronation of his father, and was ordained at the age of 20 by his preceptor being Mogliput Tisl. The ordination was performed by Mahadeva, while the Majhantika recited by the Kamma Vacha by the Majhantika. Mahinda became it is surprising, and I can say I can't remember any such event, maybe such event, but I could not come across in the books till I read, whatever I read till now, such event. What happened with Mahinda? When the ordination was being performed, and his hair was raised, his head was being shaven, and the hair were put into his hands when his guru Mahadeva. The same moment during the initial shaving head ceremony, he became Arhat. What a punya! So this was the merit of the Mahinda. It can be said that when the great Asoka convened the third council, in the presidentship of the Arhat Mogliput Tisl, who was 20 years aged at that time, it was thought proper that missions and missionaries in the groups may be dispatched to the foreign countries to propagate the teachings of the Buddha. So at that time, Mogliput decided and formed the groups of the Arhat monks and designated their destinations or the countries where they were deputed to propagate the teachings of the Buddha. At that time, Mogliput was requested by his patron. Now that Mahamahinda was requested by his preceptor Mogliputtis Mahathera and Sangha to visit Sri Lanka and establish Sasan there. He set out from his monastery Asoka Rama in Patna to Vidisagiri to have a last look at his mother Devi and bid farewell to her. With him also went the Arhat Theraj, Itye, Uttiye, Sambal, Bhaddasal, Samne, Sumna, Anagami lay disciple Bhandu. So, it is not a new thing that it was the first incident that Mahinda went to Sri Lanka, because prior to this, as mentioned in the Mahavans, Chronicle Sri Lanka, Chronicle Mahavans and Deepvans, and the Samanta Phal, the Vinay commentary give vivid description of the Buddha Gautam had 3 visits to Sri Lanka, made in the 5th year and the 8th year after his enlightenment. So the land was fertile there. Buddha purposely made 3 visits to the Singhaldeep or Sri Lanka. Because Buddha knew the future, that after so and so period, in the period of King Asoka, such event will happen. So he went there, and the place where Buddha goes becomes fertile, conducive for the teaching of the Buddha. Naturally. So, as when on the full moon day of the June, which is called Posan there, June, Posan, and on the full moon day of the June, Jyestha Purnima, Posan, Mahinda went to Sri Lanka, and on the full moon day of the December, Anduwap, his sister Sangmitta, Venerable Theri Sangmitta, went to Sri Lanka to establish the Bhikkhuni Sangha. So, when the Mahinda went by air, by the time the Devanampiya Tis's father, Mutasiv, had passed away, and the king of Sri Lanka, Devanampisya, was appointed king of Sri Lanka. After spending 1 month at Vidisagiri on full moon day, of the month of Jeth, like Poson full moon, in the year 236 Buddhist era, that is 308 BCE, in the 18th year of Asoka's reign, Arhant Mahamahinda, accompanied by 6 others, rose up in the air by supernormal power. Departing from Vidisagiri, they alighted on the Silakut at the Misak Hill, the loftiest peak of the present Mihintale, 8 miles east of Anuradhapura. We are rising suddenly from the plain. Mountain overlooks the city of the Anuradhapura. It was the national day of festival. The king was hunting. When he saw the monk, he was scared. Seeing his dress, what Mahinda said, Samna Meham Maharaja Dham Rajasa Savaka Taveva Anu Kampa Jambu Deepam Idhagata. Monks are we, O great king, disciple of the king of the truth. Out of compassion for thee, hither have we come from Jambudeep. So, when he went there, he ordained first the king and other 40,000 upasaks. When the Dhamma was established there, then the Queen Anula, the consort of the Upraja, sub-king, named Mahanag, with 500 of her attendant ladies, having listened to the discourse, gained mental attainment and implored Arhant Mahinda to grant them ordination. There was, however, no bhikkhuni order then in Sri Lanka, and according to Vinay rules, Mahamahinda was not permitted to give ordination to women folk. This could be done only by a Buddha or by the member of this. Could be only done by a Buddha or the bhikkhuni order. So, hence the Venerable Mahamahinda suggested to the king Tissu that his sister Sanghamitta, who was then a bhikkhuni in India, be invited in Sri Lanka to bestow ordination to those desirous of it, and thus establish the bhikkhuni order in Sri Lanka. After this, King Devanampiyatis, glad at heart, made all arrangements to dispatch a deputation headed by Aritha, one of his ministers, to Emperor Asoka, intimating to him wish to Mahamahinda and himself. When the request was heard by the King Asoka, because he was not Arhant that time, he was disturbed. He felt that first my son went to Sri Lanka, now he has begged my daughter to take away to Sri Lanka. He felt alone. He was a little disturbed. When he dissuaded Sanghamitta, she said to her father, what Sanghamitta, however, consoled his father by explaining to him that the request had come from her noble brother, and that she should have the rare opportunity and good fortune to establish the bhikkhuni order in Sri Lanka, thus being of service to the Sasan and the people of Sri Lanka, the women folk in particular. Then finally the emperor agreed and requested by Mahamahinda suggested that she take with her a sapling of the Sri Mahabodhi tree, under whose shelter the Bodhisattva Gautam Buddha gained enlightenment. A sapling from the southern side of the tree was obtained, and Asoka made all arrangements for Sanghamitta to take it to Sri Lanka in the company of 11 Arhant Bhikkhunis. So, Sanghamitta left the country from the port known as Tamratapti. It is said the Emperor Asoka was at the port, gazing at the departing vessel with feeling of deep emotion until it passed away out of sight. Then the vessel arrived in the port of Jambu Deep on the day of the December Purnima. Everything has been explained by our most venerable scholar monk Annalokji. This was the relation of the Bharat to Sri Lanka, which is still in practice, and the mutual relationship, because there are the condition of mutuality applies here. Condition of the 24 out of the 24 condition, the condition of the mutuality, contiguous. So this is the significance of the Jyeshtha Purnima, Vaisakh day, what I could understand according to my little knowledge I have expressed before you. So with these words, again I pray from the side of all present here, Venerable Monk Bhante P. Shivli Thero, our moderator Kailaji, and Vimlender Kumar, Kiran Lamaji, our all audience listener, Venerable Monk Annalokji, and Vedant Lafji. I pray all the Buddhas to give them long, happy, and the wise, wisdomful life, to emancipate and eradicate all the suffering in this very life. Bhavatu Sabha Mangalam, Namo Buddhaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu.
बहुत बढ़िया.
On this past day of Poson Poe, we had this Dhamma Sabha, and our speakers shed light on the many aspects of the Poson Poe day, that is Jyeshtha Purnima, which is so pious in Sri Lanka that it is regarded second to the Vaisakh Purnima, Vaisakh day. And even Arhant Mahamahinda is also regarded as second Buddha. So Mahinda and Sangmitta went to Sri Lanka. They established Bhikkhu Sangha, Bhikkhuni Sangha, planted Bodhi tree, and preached Buddhism or preached Dhamma in the country, lived there, passed away there. Their relics are enshrined in the stupa. They did not return to the motherland. This is so great deed of them, that they are worshipped there in Sri Lanka like Buddha's disciple or Buddha's very close, who are responsible for introducing Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So this day is so pious, so holy, that Sri Lankans celebrate it. And in a befitting way, everywhere, wherever you go in Sri Lanka, people are moving, going, visiting the places, stupas, shrines, temples, offering various kinds of food to all for 2 days. So we have been there on this Poson Poe day, a delegation of 53 from Mahabodhi Society. So thank you so much, sir. Our president is very like on Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist ethics, and he is very good at giving teachings. So, and all other speakers of today, most venerable Dr. Vadinagala Panyaloka, the professor of Kelaniya University, especially in Pali and Buddhist studies. He gave very good talk on Buddhism, how it came to Sri Lanka, how it flourished there, with date, with references, everything. And Professor Lab of Nalanda Mahavihara, the Vice Chancellor of Nalanda Mahavihara, he also narrated the gift of India, gift of Bharat to Sri Lanka. Very good. Professor Vimalendra very good detail as of the Dhamma Sabha today. He is the convener of the Dhamma Sabha. Actually, he has very good contacts with foreign scholars of Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and other countries. And he is the key person to just arrange this kind of seminar, this kind of Dhamma Sabha, which has foreign participants. Kiran Lamaji, though he was on the way, he stopped his car and joined our Dhamma Sabha, invoked and did invocation for our center. So all you deserve our gratefulness, our thankfulness, sir. And we are grateful to all of you. And today's session, Dhamma Sabha was joined by more than 50 participants. They were very good listeners, and from many places they were. One of our vice president from Bombay, Sri Harish Ravalia ji, and Karubari Wagmare, he is also from Bombay. From Gujarat, Tathagat Gautam Sandeep P. Jyotikar ji. From Lucknow, Padam Singh ji, Harendra Kumar ji, Prasthai. From Calcutta, Kajri Barua ji, Alpana Basu, and others. And from Odisha, Saurendra Mahapatro ji, and others. And many others, I can't name them all, P.P. Gautam, Amy Siraj, Vivek Shakya, Sudhir Maurya ji, and many others. So all of you paid very good ear, very good. You listened to our talk, to every speakers. You have been a very good listener, and you remain so attentive to our speakers that you deserve our thanks. We are very grateful to you for your wish or your interest in Buddhism, and many others whom I can't name. Name is not here. So we are all very much grateful to our General Secretary, Most Venerable Shivli Mahatheroji. Perhaps he joined our session, but he was. I wanted him to give blessings, but I think he is not in that position there. Perhaps he was sitting or he was somewhere. We are very much grateful to Sumitanand Banteji, Jnaneshwar Banteji, and other venerable monks who joined this session.
meeting
Of many monks for these teachers here today. So this is all today. It was, I think, it is going to be a 2.5 hour session today. And all of you showed great interest, great attachment. Dhamma lovers, you people are all Dhamma lovers people. And I hope you all have been surely benefited by the talks of today. And you will be joining our future talks also. And the number will go even higher and higher. So on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I pay gratitude to all of you. I express my gratefulness to all of you. And may you all be happy, well, maybe you all may be in good health. You may get prosperity. Everything come to your favor and enjoy all good things, all happiness. So this is from the blessings of the Buddha, blessings of the Sangha, that you people join us, especially the listening to the Dhamma. So all of you be in good state of mind, good state of body, and enjoy good times. Thank you so much, sir, for attending, giving attention to this Dhamma Sabha. And from Mahabodhi Society, it wishes you all happiness, good health, and long life. Bhavatu Sabha Mangalam, Bhavatu Sabha Mangalam, Rakhantu Sabha Devata, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, all Triratna, may bless you all everything. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Session is over here. We will meet again in the next Dhamma Sabha. Thank you, sir. All.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Dr. Kailash Prasad ji, for proposing vote of thanks and conducting this webinar in a very successful manner. I am really grateful to all the listeners of this webinar, and I am quite happy also that Health Department of Schools of Buddhist Thought at Gautam Buddha University, Dr. Chandrasekhar Praswan, has also joined this webinar, and others lovers of the Buddhism, all the members of the Mahabodhi Society of India, governing body members, as well as trustee members of the Mahabodhi Society of India, especially our Tathagat Baudhiji, Sandeep Jyotikar, Ramesh Rao Riyaji, and others who have joined, and they have made this event ORA as a great success. So thank you all. We will meet again on this Purnima day in the next month. Thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu.